Welcome to AHK Motorspace. How can I help you?
Hi, can I have a 5-liter motor oil and oil filter for a Bantam Bucky?
Anything else? Spot.
The soul, and can it be treated and cured? Join Maulana Zahir Ahmad Raghi every Wednesday morning as he unpacks the topic of narcissism and enlightens us on the Islamic perspective of tackling this spiritual sickness. Radio Islam International, bringing you contemporary and pertinent psychological discussions.
فرضاه أحاف لقاء يظل يجيء إذا
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Radio Islam International. My name is Muhammad Baum and I'll be your host until 10 a.m. inshallah. In studio we have Maulana Zahir Ahmad Raghi. Maulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We take this opportunity of greeting all our listeners on Radio Islam, Radio Al Ansar, and also we are live on the Ummahat Instagram page. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you.
Well, last week we started with a new topic and we labeled it You Are Loved. We were discussing about narcissism, and the subject of narcissism has been widely debated and discussed. It has come into the spotlight more prominent in recent years, though, as abuse cases rise and people become more aware of this personality. And as introduction, any difference we can see from an Islamic perspective of this disorder and what are the makeup of a narcissist. We also spoke of the characteristics of shaitan. We went through quite a few. I think there was about more than 10 characteristics of shaitan. And we also identified some of them, and these are found in a narcissist. We also said that shaitan was the first narcissist. So just before we carry on, we were doing some of the sayings of a narcissist. The third saying that we come to is you are overreacting. They're emotionally manipulating you by devaluing you and saying that your emotions are not valid. They want to say whatever they want without consequences. So when you react, they will call in an overreaction and diminish your experience as a type of narcissist abuse. So now we are probably familiar with the term narcissist. How can we identify the makeup of a narcissist?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Mana, before we even continue with our discussion today, I would like just to make one or two points of clarification. I did make mention of this in our last discussion, that firstly, we need to understand that I'm no counselor. I'm not a therapist. We had lots of people that called me, sent emails, even messages. Keep in mind that this is just an overview of the topic. But if you are in a need for some help, there are many Muslim counselors. We have the Islamic Care Line, Helpline. You can go to the various people with who you have confidence in, and you can discuss these issues with them. However, as far as our program is concerned, I would say be patient. We will eventually discuss remedies, though it may take some time before we get there. Secondly, as you have said that if there are anyone that has any questions, you may call in. Also, you may pass us some comments if you want to, so that we can learn from each other. I'm no expert in this. However, Allah Ta'ala gives us the right understanding. So the question is, Maulana, what is narcissism? The subject has been widely debated and discussed. It has come into the spotlight more prominently in recent years, though as abuse cases rise and people are becoming more aware of this personality. Now, we are going to be discussing in our discussions the whole concept of narcissism. We're going to go on to having a good understanding of it. And then, inshallah, we will come to the Islamic perspectives of it. So, according to modern science and also non religious psychological studies, the exact cause of narcissistic personality disorder is unknown. And so, it's important to learn about Islam's perspective on this characteristic trait. Now, mental health issues and personality disorders are non-tangible spiritual problems that only Islam can explain. And we are fortunate that we have a large amount of information in our Islamic texts. However, it's important to educate ourselves about what narcissism really means in psychological terms first. And that's what we are discussing so that we can make sense of it at a later stage with the Islamic terms of it. We had discussed, as you have correctly said, some of the traits and characteristics of shaitan, while an unhealthy level of vanity, excessive pride, or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements, are among the primary traits of narcissism, and it's much more serious than just being full of oneself. It is often noticed that narcissists treat people as objects instead of equals, instead of equal human beings with feelings. Now, Marana, you asked about the makeup of narcissists. We have said that we would be probably familiar with the term, but this fully fledged personality disorder is an entirely different kettle of fish. Narcissism is a cluster B personality type. That's what psychologists define it as. It's characterized by extreme selfishness and a lack of empathy, egocentricity, thinking only of oneself without regard for the feelings or desires of others, to be self-centered, and empathy can't coexist in an individual's constitution. So narcissists can only think of themselves without regard for the feelings and desires of others. They come across as being grandiose, pompous, full of themselves, snobbish, arrogant, because they are making up, all these characteristics is actually making up for a fragile sense of self-worth that is deeply rooted in their negative childhood experiences. And now you might notice that I'm talking about childhood experiences. And inshallah, as we go along, we will discuss the aspect of narcissistic parenting.
Well, just seeing that we just got a message. Assalamu alaikum. We have to respect parents. How do you deal with narcissistic parents in Islam, especially a mother? Children are emotionally exhausted with his narcissistic mother.
Yes, as I said, inshallah, Maulana, I know I'm going to be saying this very often, and I know we are anxious about the topic. Maybe at a later stage, I might identify all the various discussions that we will have under this. And indeed, we are going to address narcissistic parenting, because we generally say children need to respect parents. And yes, it's true. But sometimes we take those aspects of respect and we don't set boundaries for that. And many a times, children are brought up by narcissistic parents, and that has a very great negative impact on the development of a child. And inshallah, we will come to that, inshallah.
Well, just before we carry on, someone else says, as a disclaimer, maybe we should caution people from diagnosing others as narcissistic. The program shouldn't form a platform from which to diagnose anyone.
Yes, I think it's an important comment. I must here make mention, and we did make mention of it in our last discussion, that it's not necessary that if you find one or two characteristic traits of narcissist behavior, that that person is to be defined as a narcissist. There are proper, fully fledged psychological tests that you can have taken by counselors, therapists, uh, medical practitioners, and those assessments will eventually determine whether you are one or not. I must also make mention here that if you see someone having these traits, it's not someone that you just need to, write off, look down upon. That's not the purpose of this program. The purpose of this program is not to point a finger at someone else, because that in itself is not a good characteristic trait. That's what you call projections. You project someone else to have these. The purpose of our discussion is to have a self analysis. Am I one that is guilty of these characteristic traits, so that I need to remedy myself? And that's the purpose of this. And another aspect that we need to also keep in mind, in fact, I was speaking to someone, I'll mention Maulana Suleiman Mullah in the week, and he mentioned to me that, when in his process of counseling couples, he's found that both the male and the female, husband and wife, each one accuse the other of being a narcissist. And here our purpose is not to accuse someone else, but rather to have a self-analysis of myself. However, if we do observe some of these traits in someone else, inshallah, we will come to that aspect also. How do we deal with that? And we also need to understand that if someone has these traits, we need to understand there was a background towards how he has come or how she has come to develop these traits. And therefore, those are people who need assistance, help. So let's not write them off. Let's not be critical of them. Mona, if you allow us to just continue with the discussion, I know you're going to have, and I expected this, but let's have some discussions.
We're going to leave this for later, just before we complete the program. Then we'll deal with the questions.
Inshallah. So a narcissist is often stuck in a child's mindset, as they find it difficult to move on from the negative experiences they had. We spoke about, you just said something about narcissistic parenting. So is often stuck in the child mindset, and they find it difficult to move on from the negative experiences they had, and we will talk about that. This is why they often present childish actions, such as throwing a tantrum when they don't get their way or what they want. It does not matter how reasonable or unreasonable their demands are. All they care about is they literally expect the world to revolve around them and their own endless needs. So what we are doing now, Mona, we are unpacking this characteristic trait. So just be patient and understand what we are doing and continue doing a self-analysis. Now, self-centeredness in moderation, it's important, it's paramount for a strong self-esteem, a strong sense of self-worth. It is required for self-development. It is required for self-confidence. It is required for self-motivation to achieve personal goals. On the other hand, a narcissist takes self-interest to ridiculous levels. They literally expect the world to revolve around them and their own endless needs. On a surface level, narcissists they are charming, charismatic, they can be delightful and friendly, especially when trying to get your good books and trying to get into your good books, or trying to be desirous of getting something from you. And their two-sided personality means that they switch back and forth between a sweet persona and also a sinister one, depending on what or what is at stake. And they have mastered this dark art of manipulation, and they will play dirty to get what they have set their sights on. Boundaries does not exist in a narcissistic character. So they have no qualms if they have to violate other people's personal space and privacy. Now, let's look at some of these traits. And I'm sure many of you who are in a narcissistic relationship will say that this rings a bell. They have an inflated sense of self importance, are highly arrogant. They think that they are, they call it in the bee's knees, the best perfect specimen. Their self interest comes first and foremost. So people's perspectives are never entertained. The narcissist holds people in contempt, so they see it beneath them to listen to other people's opinions. In fact, in a hadith, it is recorded where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said something which I've mentioned, gave reference to it. Batarul haq wa ghamatun nas. They look at people with contempt. They look down upon people, and they always suppress the truth. That is why it can feel like talking to an inanimate object when communicating with a narcissist. They possess a highly exploitative nature where they will shamelessly use others like tools to meet their own self centered needs without a care in the world. People are befriended based on what they can bring on the table. So, what they can bring on the table and not their value as humans or individuals. So, you will find they build relationships on what they can take away from you, not on the basis of just basic, pure human value. If the narcissist can't get something out of you, unfortunately, you will be rendered useless and you may even be discarded. It's all about fulfilling their needs. So people are merely like appliances, like objects to meet the end goal. Likewise, narcissists don't recognize the humanity of others. And if they break down in an argument when they are being exploited, they are to be blamed for lacking strength. You are to be blamed for lacking strength. Like, you are just being too sensitive. So your value lies how useful and how functional you are to the narcissist. Narcissists are highly envious creatures where anyone outshining them or showing potential will be a target of their envy. I see someone has put some comments here, Marana, but inshallah we'll get to that. One of the yardsticks narcissists use to determine their self-worth is how they are faring against others. So they are highly competitive people. They derive temporary satisfaction when they perceive themselves as making progress, but will flip when they perceive themselves beneath others who somehow have achieved more or who have more possessions. So the immense envy that runs through the vein of a narcissist. And we spoke about the characteristics of shaitan and his envy. So the immense envy that runs through their veins causes them to be in a chronic state of discontentment. That is why you will find a narcissist on a perpetual, continuous mission to rise above others by hook or crook and disparage or play down and destroy those they see as competition. So they are like a bulldozer that has to demolish any source of peace, any source of joy due to their own personal extreme envy. And since the narcissists can't form a real identity or obtain any form of happiness, they will do what it takes so you enjoy nothing in life. That can be in the form of even preventing you from experiencing any kind of happiness. If you, for example, you love a particular family member, it could be a parent, it could be a sister, a brother, they will devalue the person that you love, hoping to make you lose interest in them. This is another very dirty, dangerous trait of a narcissist. That if you are in a relationship with a narcissist as a partner, and then if you love a particular family member, it could be a parent, it could be a sister, brother, the narcissist will devalue the person you show appreciation to, hoping you to make you lose interest in them. Their envy does not only stop at attacking items in isolation, but the owner of the blessings. A narcissist simply can't accept that someone can indulge in life's pleasures whilst they are left out. And they feel more eligible and are under the impression that they should have the best of everything. They also loathe and hate being in an inferior position to anyone. So they will do their utmost to elevate themselves at any cost, and they will always try to bring others down. They want to always be number one and be a top dog, because their yardstick for success and their yardstick of success and a sense of self is based on how well they fare against other people and how other people look at them. And they are constantly on comparison missions. If the mirror on the wall informs them that they are not the fairest of all, they're envious. They envious and jealousy, and they will try to destroy those who are outshining them. Another aspect and another trait that you will find, that blame shifting means that anything that goes pear-shaped is entirely your fault. So if you're in a relationship and anything went wrong, the blame is always shifted. So it's always your fault. If you were not involved, even if you were not involved, they will do what it takes to keep their hands clean of the very crimes that they committed and step up others to take the blame. And subhanallah, it is so amazing if you look at this. And sometimes many things that we are talking, and I see some of the comments coming up, that so many things that we are mentioning is ringing bells about how we have interacted with people. And you have to constantly apologize for being in the wrong, even if you did nothing wrong. A narcissist will never assume responsibility and will always set you up to look like you are the culprit. You can employ all the laws of logic in your argument to prove that it's not your fault. But the narcissist can just not accept common sense. And every verbal effort of yours will always go into vain. And they are just too proud to offer an apology if they have done something wrong. They will only provide, and this is also this manipulation, they will only provide an insincere apology or seek forgiveness to buy time or to wriggle themselves out of trouble when they have been overpowered. So even their apology has an ulterior motive. But once they regain their control, subhanallah, once they regain their control, they will start their abuse all over again, as if nothing had happened. Their total lack of remorse means that they can never be in the wrong, regardless of the sinisterness of the wrongs that they have done. And then another aspect, subhanallah, Maulana, I know I'm just going on, but as I said, I'm just unpacking this characteristic. They love starting fights. and provoking intense emotional reactions in others. They crave attention, they crave drama, they crave trouble by whatever means. It does not matter what type of attention they get, whether it's positive or negative. As long as they create that attention and crave and they get it, it's all good. In fact, negative attention to them can be more stimulating. Negative attention can be more stimulating. It is like the strange case of flies. Flies can manage with just about any type of food, but rotten food are their favorites, where they will party in the waste like there is no tomorrow. And that's what the narcissist is. He craves attention, but negative attention is like his fuel. And they live, narcissists live off the empathy and the compassion of others, especially when things aren't going good for them. That is why they love to be in a relationship with an empath or a codependent, and we'll talk about this later. The narcissist will resort to a pity ploy to draw people into his or her drama laden life because they like the drama and they like to show that they are the underdog, everyone is against them. And a narcissist will make as if they are being picked on, they have been ganged up against, being subject to a whole lot of conspiracy, and like as if they've done nothing except being a good person. They were just trying to be good, and everybody is against them. That's the mentality. Provide a narcissist with no attention whatsoever, be it positive or negative, and you've effectively destroyed them since you've deprived them of the source of the fuel necessary for their survival. Now, I know this sometimes might go against the strain and teaching of Islam that you don't cut relationships, but sometimes you just need to be ignoring their drama, and that is what is required. Provide the narcissist with no attention, positive or negative, and you've effectively destroyed them since you've deprived them of the source of the energy that they need for their survival. It's like, you put a fish in dirty water. That is still water. So you've given them a lifeline. But give the fish no water, the fish is dead. Give the narcissist no attention, they are also dead. So no contact is the best strategy when dealing with a narcissist. So you give them nothing but pain by being silent and emotionless. Do not let the narcissist observe the emotions on you. And this is another chapter in Islam on the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that to do a research on the occasions where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam remained silent. Subhanallah, there is so much information that you can extract from the silence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Jimara, since we say that silence and ignoring the narcissist is the best treatment, where does empathy fit in the picture? I mean, does the narcissist display of their empathy for others? Islam encourages us to have kindness, etc.
Gee, where does empathy fit in the picture? Empathy, kindness, compassion, feeling the pain of others is a beautiful blessing. Only those endowed with the emotional gift can appreciate how marvelous and how priceless empathy is. Even a narcissist, alhamdulillah, envies an empath. Empathy, we need to understand what it is. Empathy is the ability to recognize and relate to other people's emotions. It is the ability to not only see another person's point of view, but to be capable of emotionally experiencing it as well. Not just to look at another person's view, but to emotionally experience another person's view. It is like stepping into someone else's shoes, knowing their emotional state, even if you had not experienced that particular condition that the person is. Lack of empathy, unfortunately, is the hallmark of narcissism. It is the inability to identify the inner emotions, the inner experiences, the inner feelings of other people and deal with them accordingly. It can also manifest as the incapability to entertain a different perspective or see something from a different angle. The emotional bankruptcy of the narcissist means that they've got no clue when it comes to the inner worlds of others or what others are actually going through. The only emotions that are allowed in a relationship are those of a narcissist. And seeing things from another person's perspective is not only in an interspousal relationship. We can expand this to so far. So the only emotions that are allowed is that of a narcissist. The narcissist's emotional shallowness manifests itself in every sphere of life, ranging from the way how nastily they will put you down, how they will just fire at you. The sharp, loose tongue of the narcissist is sufficient evidence for their emotional inaptitude, where they will call you derogatory names and they will subject you to humiliating insults. And they, in spite of using all those harsh words against you, they expect you not to only take it but with a smile, but you should actually show gratefulness that they are pointing out to you your weaknesses. And they are not interested in the harmful impact of their offensive words and will even find it disrespectful if you protest to them for their lack of empathy. Only what the narcissist feels is what matters. Everyone must align their emotional temperature with the narcissist's emotional weather. That's how they are. Suppose the narcissist is in a good mood today. In that case, everyone in the home, everyone in the area, everyone in the vicinity is expected to be over the moon. Even if you are going through a bad patch, they must consistency, they must show consistency. Sometimes it's difficult, Maulana, to navigate between what we are saying and reading what people are putting here. So, a narcissist must show consistency with a narcissist, or rather, let me put it this way: you, a victim of this abuse, you must show consistency with a narcissist's internal state, regardless of your inner dynamics. If the narcissist is feeling down, they will assume that everyone else must have the blues of that day. They could even find it objectionable if you are happy the day they are not in a good mood. And if a person contradicts their depressive mood, then you will just see an outrage. The only significant emotions in existence are those of a narcissist. Not only do a narcissist not give a toss about people's feelings, but they might even derive immense pleasure from other people's pain. The agony they administer to others doesn't bother them. So if they had an argument with you and they caused you so much of hurt and they've called you all insulting names, it doesn't bother them. They will experience no guilt, no remorse after putting you through what you are going through. And this can be from both male and female. Narcissists will even inflict pain on their victims and get frustrated from the normal reaction of a person who have been inflicted with pain. So if you are a victim and you begin to shed tears from an unbearable suffering, or ask the narcissist just to have some mercy on you whilst you are sobbing, that show of emotion will frustrate or even enrage the narcissist, where they will brutally suppress it and cause you to increase and do things so that they will be able to increase the torture on you. So the victim is expected, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. The victim is expected to tolerate the ordeal, not to open their mouth, as any plea of compassion is tantamount to disrespect. A narcissist's cruelty has no limits, where they will keep on abusing their victims like there is no tomorrow, and any emotional expression could very well get punished even more. And if you express any emotional expression about the abuse that is meted out to you, suddenly you will find this rage. And the only emotion that the narcissists tend to experience deeply is rage and fear. Anyone who has lived with a narcissist will know about their short fuse. Rage is a classical characteristic of a narcissist. It is both out of control and most of the times out of the blue. Narcissists have always got a bone to pick with you and will bite your head off for the smallest of mistakes that you do. It doesn't make much for them to blow their top, where they will go ballistic for sometimes no reason, shouting offensive swear words, smashing objects, banging their fist on things, storming out of the room, just lashing out at you. Their rage, their anger, their wrathful reaction is most of the time, unfortunately, disproportionate to the stimulus and can be highly terrifying to a victim. You know, if you see the emotional state of a victim of a narcissist's rage, it is actually frightening. Narcissists manifest rage on a crazy level, regardless of their educational background, regardless of their social status, regardless of their cultural bringing. Ordinary people do get angry at times. It is natural for you to get angry, but only when it is called for. And the rage of ordinary people is most of the time within acceptable parameters. But the narcissist takes wrath and anger and rage to a whole new level. Firstly, there doesn't have to be a reason. I see people are putting here, Maulana, that it seems that we are a fly on the wall. We're just talking about everything that people are experiencing. But I said a lot of it will ring a bell. I'm sure you have lots of comments coming up, Maulana. We'll come to it, inshallah. I just want to complete this part and then we'll come to it, inshallah. And even on the Ummahat program, if anyone has comments or questions, please send your questions through. So firstly, coming back to it, firstly, there does not have to be a reason or a cause for them to enter into a fit of rage. It's just out of the blue. Their temperament means that they can throw a tantrum whenever they feel like. You can be sitting, you can be having a nice casual discussion, you can be minding your own business, and suddenly a violent volcano will erupt out of nowhere. And the narcissist's disproportionate fury could ignite when things aren't going good or people aren't submitting to their requests and their needs. And narcissists will use rage to get what they want. If things don't go their way, they will blow a fuse, flip out to demonstrate their frustration, and they will let off some steam. In addition to venting off, they wish to intimidate the other person into giving in what their demands are. It's like a toddler's mindset in an adult's body, where they will throw a tantrum whenever they want something or aren't getting their way. The next aspect is, self accountability. Inshallah, we'll get back to self accountability on some other occasion, or if we have some time, Marana. I see you are talking about some comments if you want to share, inshallah. So we give our audience and our listeners an opportunity to talk. I see there's someone is asking, is there help for a narcissist? Yes, definitely. We spoke about it previously, and inshallah, we will come to that. In Islam, narcissist is the corruption of the nafs. And definitely there is a rigorous program for that. Your connection with Allah, your ibadah, and there's lots that you can talk about. Inshallah, we'll get back to that at some other time.
Welcome to the comments. Just a reminder, you can either call us on 011-854-1548. The lines are open, 011-854-1548. Or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 0727861548. 0727861548. The first comment that is coming, Assalamu alaikum, Malana, I have dealt with narcissists for years, no matter what. Even if I just achieve one thing, they couldn't handle it. They spend on my life, on my social media. They can't see I'm happy. They compete all the time. With me, yet they have so much more in life. Another one, huge shout out to Radio Islami Raggie for tackling this topic of a personality disorder that's so rife in our community today. Mara's research and accuracy is good. She's so elated. This is being addressed by ulama. Too many of us have suffered as victims. This is one of the main causes of mental illnesses amongst humans.
I see there's someone saying here something, Marana, that finally someone is speaking about this, but it's so prevalent in our Muslim community. And this is the point, especially when the narcissist uses Islam to silence the victim. And yes, that is a major problem. And inshallah, thumma inshallah, if Allah gives us the ability, we are going to spend a lot of time about the spiritual abuse that the narcissists use.
See, another message coming. I suffered so many years. Only now I've learned what this disorder is. Every single one of these in the person I've suffered from. So she's seen this on this qualities. Another one. Assalamu alaikum. I am married to a covert narcissist for 40 years. You are 100% correct in everything you are saying. Another trait is manipulating your adult children against you, and that is most hurtful. Unfortunately, a lot of counselors are not aware of this NPD. Once you stand up for yourself, they become more manipulating. Also, they give you the silent treatment for weeks and months. They also withhold affection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all to have to deal and live with them.
Yes, these are traits that we are going to be discussing, inshallah.
Someone else asking, are these characteristic traits displayed only when the person they attain narcissistic supply from, or is it with everyone they are around?
Yeah, this is something that we're going to talk, inshallah. That it's a trait, it's a personality trait that they have with them. And it can be displayed not only necessarily in a relationship as husband and wife or wife-husband, but it can be in various other areas, in your workplace, in lots of other areas.
Another one, I make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Almighty made me strong enough to overcome, but I ask Marana to make special dua at the end of this program for all the victims that are still undergoing this. All of us say Ameen, that may change or ease the victim's pain, as I know of 3 families suffering this plight, and may Allah have mercy on us, that we are powerless to intervene.
Now, inshallah, Allah, I think what's important here, Marana, is that we need to have lots of hope in Allah. We need to have lots of hope in our deen, that our deen provides solutions to these problems. These are spiritual problems that we need to deal with. And Islam is a religion that provides solutions to this, and we will get there, inshallah.
Inshallah. What's the difference between narcissism and bipolar?
Yeah, I think here I'm going to ask the one that sent this message that you need to speak to some medical expert to talk about this. I'm not an expert in every field. Inshallah, you will get some advice on that aspect as well. One is a spiritual disease and one is a medical disease. However, sometimes, and I'm going to come to it, sometimes the spiritual ailment does cause medical deformities and vice versa. So sometimes a narcissistic personality disorder may result in you manifesting it in a medical manifestation of being bipolar, etc. That can happen. It is interchanging.
And do narcissists behave with everyone in such a manner, or do they choose their prey?
Yeah. They are very, very, very manipulative. They are very shrewd. They know they do choose their prey. And when a person is an empath, they run far away from such people, and they know where to get the supply, because their supply is people who fall prey to their abuse.
Another message: so sad when a person is married to one. Then I have a son and daughter-in-law together, and we have been abused.
If I want, I think we'll have lots of. If I see, if we can just go to something. People have asked something about flying monkeys. Yes, they get to fall for their lives. What hold do they have on the flying monkeys to get them to do all the dirty work? Yes, that is something that I'm going to come about. I'm going to discuss it. In the research, I found this an amazing characteristic of a narcissist. However, just let's do, if you allow me, Mona, just another 2-3 minutes just to continue. Another aspect of a narcissist is self-accountability. Now, in Islam, and these are the remedies, within our discussion, there is remedies. Self-accountability is a crucial component for self-growth. But a narcissist will never engage in it. If they are the perfect specimen, then how can they ever be in the wrong? It is just too painful for the fragile narcissistic ego to admit a mistake or a bad behavior, so they get highly irritable and become very defensive when you point the finger at them or attempt to hold them accountable for their transgressions. And they will turn the tables on you by accusing you that you are being inconsiderate towards their feelings, or will shift the focus to your shortcomings, whether it's real or perceived. If they are forced into a corner, when they have to talk about their actions, they will come up with endless excuses to acquit themselves of blame, ranging from firstly denying the magnitude of their behavior to putting it down to, it was just a once-off bad day I had. Even then, they will still portray themselves as infallible angels, whilst painting you as being the cause of whatever is happening. And they will project their faults and their failures onto you and get you frustrated with your natural frustration from their abuse. The narcissists designating themselves as the victim, they offload all their violations onto you, where you are the one who has to answer for the very crimes that the narcissist committed against you. And the narcissist gets to have their cake and to eat it by acting as they please, then throwing the blame onto an innocent party. I've said this and I'm saying it again. Maulana Suleiman Mullah spoke to me and he said it so beautifully that in the process, both wife and husband blame each other for being a narcissist. This is also one of the traits, not to take blame and place blame onto someone else. And the purpose that we are having this discussion here is, let's honestly reflect on ourselves and see if I am not guilty of one of the traits that we are talking of. I think we'll conclude here, Maulana, tomorrow. Next week, inshallah, we will start with the aspect of projection, where we project the blame onto someone else. If there are some questions that you want to talk of or some comments, you can bring it up, Maulana.
No, there's just a lot of comments that we do have. Jazakallah for the program, and some also saying that just one question that just comes around. Maulana is describing my mother to the T. What are the consequences for me if I break ties with her? It's just one that we need to address.
Firstly, I don't think you should break ties. I think we need to look at it at people that display these types of characteristic traits, that they are also victims, they are also suffering. It could be for various reasons that they are what they are, childhood, whatever other aspects, whatever. And we will come to this discussion of narcissistic parenting. I think you should not at any time break ties. You should make dua. You should always do good. I think in the Quran Kareem, Allah Ta'ala says that if people are being not fair and just and equitable with you, you do the right thing, inshallah, that will bring about softness in their heart. So that's the advice that I would give, not to break ties. Yes, sometimes you can, it's difficult, but you need to ignore some of the harsh treatment they give you. Do not manifest any emotions. That's the best way. And sabr does not mean just keeping quiet, but when the moment arises, you may even discuss these issues with your mother in a nice, calm, collective way. Inshallah, there is a need for us to address it. And inshallah, if you address it the way we are addressing this program, inshallah, good will come out from it, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, Jazakallah for your time. Much appreciated. Inshallah, we'll continue next week, Wednesday.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dua before entering the toilet. Allahumma